Welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of Susan Lopresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul, the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan Lopresti, and today I'm coming on to talk to you about autoimmune diseases. And I also want to share with you my own personal experience with having autoimmune diseases. So let's get right into what are autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases are a group of conditions that occur when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells, tissues, and organs in your body. This can cause inflammation that affects many parts of the body, and symptoms can range from mild to severe. Some symptoms may include fatigue, fever, muscle ache, joint pain and swelling, skin problems, abdominal pain, digestive problems, and also swollen glands. There are more than 80 known autoimmune diseases. I'm just going to give you some of the most common ones, like type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjögren syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease is another one, psoriasis, and also psoriatic arthritis. While the cause of many autoimmune diseases are unknown, it's likely that a person's genes, infections, and other environmental exposures play a role in their development. Most autoimmune diseases have no cure, but treatments are available to help manage the symptoms. Celiac disease, which is a genetic disease, is one that I have. I also have Hashimoto's disease, and I have hypothyroidism, which means that my thyroid is underactive. When I first developed this, I was gaining weight. I was extremely exhausted. I was losing my hair. I lost part of my eyebrow. They call it the third part of the eyebrow. I was constipated all the time. I was always cold. My skin was very dry. My nails were very brittle, and I really didn't know what was going on. And the first couple of doctor's appointments that I had, I was being told that it was perfectly normal for a woman of my age, which I was 44 at the time, to be feeling like this. I was in perimenopause, and I was being told that eventually your symptoms will lessen and you'll start to feel like yourself again. And I really couldn't accept that as a diagnosis. And I kept thinking back to my mom when she was my age. She didn't have any of these problems. I didn't see her gaining weight. I didn't see her hair falling out. She wasn't complaining of dry skin. She wasn't tired. She was like the Energizer Bunny. She was always on the move and always going. So I was thinking, well, if she wasn't like that, why should I be like that? And so I had read a book by Suzanne Summers, and she talked about a doctor that she saw in New York City, a functional medicine doctor, who had given her bioidentical hormones. And I decided that I was going to look her up and see what it was all about. And I did, and she was very close to where I worked, and they were actually hosting a seminar, a free seminar. And I went there and I listened to her speak, and I was very intrigued by her approach to healing. And it was something that I was never introduced to before, which is functional medicine. And so I decided that I was going to give it a shot. And I made an appointment and I went to see her. And I spent over an hour in her office talking about my family and their medical history, about my mom, where she was born, how she was raised, if she drank, if she smoked cigarettes, was she on birth control pills. My dad, same scenario. Where did he come from? What kind of lifestyle did he have? Then she went on to talk about me growing up, how I was raised, what kind of foods I ate, on and on and on and on. At the end of this almost 2 hour, what felt like an interview more than a doctor's appointment, she was about to take me into another room to have my blood drawn when she said, I just have one other question for you. How long have you had food allergies? And I said, oh, I don't have food allergies. And she said, no, I believe that you do. Just by looking at you, I can tell that you have food allergies. I just don't know exactly what you're allergic to at the moment. But if you think that you don't have food allergies, that's fine. The blood work will tell us everything that we need to know. And so she came back and said that she had great news for me. And that was that I had Hashimoto's disease. And she also said that I had celiac disease. Now, some people say that celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, and others say that celiac disease is genetic. So, for the sake of this podcast episode, I'm going to say that it's genetic. And this means that it can be passed down from parent to child. Now, my parents were never diagnosed with celiac disease, but I will tell you that my dad had unbelievable gastrointestinal problems. And one of the things that he was diagnosed with was an ulcer. And they gave him an antibiotic which actually cleared that up. Anyway, so I was diagnosed with celiac disease, right? And studies show that as many as 1 in every 141 Americans may have celiac disease, and they may not know it, which is pretty terrible, to say the least. So what happened with me was when I went to see this doctor, and she said, I have great news. You have Hashimoto's disease, and you also have celiac disease. And I said, well, what's so great about that? And she said, well, Hashimoto's, we could get that under control. And celiac disease, you could eradicate all of your symptoms by following a gluten-free diet. I had no idea what a gluten-free diet was. I had no idea what celiac disease was. I didn't even know what Hashimoto's disease was, but she explained it all to me. And so she laid it out very easily for me. She said, I don't want to overcomplicate your life. I want this to be a very simple and easy transition for you. So my suggestion is that the only foods I want you to eat are foods that come out of the ground, off of a tree. And if you decide that you want to continue to eat animal protein, it needs to be 100% USDA certified organic. And she's started to explain to me that a lot of things that we buy in the store, like dressings and condiments and different sauces that you would use to cook something, she says you need to start reading labels and being a detective and looking for words in the ingredient list that's going to be a trigger for you to know that there is gluten in this bottle or this box or this can or whatever, but she recommended none of that. So the best advice that she gave me was eliminate salad dressings, eliminate ketchup, eliminate mustard. And her advice was to use olive oil and vinegar to create a salad dressing or anything that I wanted to add some kind of a dressing to make it myself and make sure that it's free of gluten. So I had to get busy. and I started doing a lot of cooking. And in the beginning, it was very, very hard because she also wanted me, besides gluten, no sugar, no salt, no dairy, and absolutely nothing in a bag, a box, a can, anything like that. And so I started cooking, and I was getting gluten-free recipes and making food. And it was hard in the beginning because I also had to eliminate caffeine. And caffeine and sugar are like drugs, or they are drugs, I should say, almost, because the detoxification from those two items were like nothing I ever experienced before. First of all, I had massive headache, massive, when I eliminated caffeine. It took a couple of days for that to go away. But once I detoxed and I was fine, and I just got into the groove and I started cooking and watching everything I ate, the weight started to drop off because I was very overweight. I wasn't able to sleep at night. I had hot flashes. I had night sweats. I had anxiety. I was about 35 pounds overweight. I was extremely exhausted. I had brain fog like you could not even imagine. I was just a wreck. I was a wreck. And I was so desperate to feel better that I would have done anything that they suggested that I do to get healthy. And so that's what I did. And I just want you to know that when you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you that there's nothing wrong with you, or they don't see anything wrong with you, please don't take that as the Bible and walk out of there and just decide that you're going to have to learn to live with your symptoms or your ailments. No, that's not the truth. You need to find a different type of a doctor. I had gone to several conventional doctors before I sought out this functional medicine doctor, and they all told me pretty much the same thing. You're in your mid-40s, you're in perimenopause. These are all natural symptoms, and you just have to live through it and things will get better. And I couldn't accept that. I couldn't even lift my arms over my head like this. My arms only went to here. All of my joints were completely inflamed. Walking up a flight of stairs was excruciating. First of all, because I was carrying a lot of extra weight. Second of all, my joints were inflamed beyond belief. And I was just a total wreck. I was a wreck. I felt like I was going downhill really, really quickly. And it was making me very nervous because I still had a young daughter that needed me and still needs me to this day. But you know, she was only about 14 years old at the time. And so it really was something that was very concerning. And when I met this functional medicine doctor and she gave me the tools that I needed to heal and get better and get on the road to recovery so I could live a long, healthy, productive life, I was willing to do anything and everything that she suggested that I do to get myself well. And I want to say within about a 6-month period, I had dropped 30 pounds. I was sleeping through the night like a baby. I felt great. My thoughts were clear. I was quick on recall. I sprung out of bed in the morning with a ton of energy, feeling wonderful. I wasn't drinking caffeine, and it was just like a natural high. And it had everything to do with the food that I was eating, the movement of my body, meditating, and just living a stress-free lifestyle. And I had to eliminate some people and some situations out of my life in order for me to have a stress-free life. And it was difficult to do, but I was desperate to be on the road to recovery and to live a healthy life. I've always had an interest in health, and all of a sudden in my mid-40s, I was falling apart at the seams, and I just wasn't happy about that. So I'm here to tell you that if you suffer with anything like this, and this resonates with you at all, and you're not getting the satisfaction that you need from your doctors, from conventional doctors, and they're handing you a pill or telling you that it's perfectly normal for you to be feeling like this at this age, my advice to you is seek out the help of a functional medicine doctor. Do your research. Get reviews, ask around, talk to people, find out. There is help out there. You don't need to live like this. Even with me having Hashimoto's disease, my thyroid right now, all my test results, every time I go to the doctor, my thyroid is perfect. Am I on medication for my thyroid? Yes, I am. Will I always be on medication for my thyroid? Probably yes, unless some new thing comes out. But having a gluten-free diet, eliminating processed foods from your diet, eliminates a lot of the inflammation that's caused by poor quality of foods, processed foods, contaminants. So always choose organic, USDA certified organic foods. I know that you're going to pay more for them. I understand that. I know that food is already expensive. But what I will tell you is you're either going to pay for food to get you healthy, or you're going to pay a doctor and doctor bills to get you healthy. And believe me, you will spend a lot less on organic foods than you will on going to doctors and being on prescription meds for the rest of your life and always being under the doctor's care. So if this resonates with you at all and you think maybe I have an autoimmune disease, maybe I have celiac disease, go get yourself tested. You could do blood work. A functional medicine doctor will do a series of blood work that conventional medicine doctors do not do. Yes, it's an out-of-pocket expense. It is. Most of the time, functional medicine is not covered under your medical insurance, but I will tell you, it is worth every penny of going to see a functional medicine doctor. And then once you're on the right path and you're, in the groove and you're doing what they tell you to do and you're taking your meds and you're improving and you're feeling better, you may only have to see this doctor once or twice a year. And if that's the case, isn't it worth that out-of-pocket expense to know that you're feeling great and you're doing what's great for your body, and you're going to be able to live a longer, healthier, happier, productive life? And that's the purpose of my podcast. That's the purpose of my health coaching programs. It's to give women the tools that they need to live a healthy, happy, and productive life for many years to come. I just want to thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you listen to this podcast episode and you know of someone who's suffering with some of the conditions that I just talked about, I would appreciate it so much if you could share my information with them, forward them this podcast episode, send them to my website, www.susanlopresti.com. From there, they can schedule a free 30-minute health assessment with me. They're not under any obligation at all to continue with me, but I could at least point them in the right direction of where they need to go to get started on feeling better and reclaiming their health and their vitality that they had when they were younger. I will tell you, if you have a thyroid condition, especially an underactive thyroid, you will not have any vitality, any energy. You will be drained. You will be dragging yourself with no energy at all. You will not be thinking clearly. Every aspect of your life will suffer. Mine did. My work life suffered. The quality of my work suffered. My marriage suffered because of it. I couldn't be a good mom because I didn't have the energy and the drive and the enthusiasm, because it was just impossible to feel good when your whole entire system is out of whack. You don't need to suffer in silence. There is help. Reach out to me. I will point you in the right direction of where you need to go. And again, share it with anyone who you know and love who may be suffering with this condition. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you. Until the next time, be well, stay happy, and bye for now. Take good care, everyone.